Hi, I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins, and what a pleasure to be with you here today. Accelerate University, great idea. And a big shout out to my friend Amy Walker for putting this together. At the end of this presentation, I'll be letting you know what kinds of things I'm offering to you just as a result of your being here on this webinar today. And all of those things can be accessed through this website, drpauljenkins.com/Amy Walker. If you'll go to that page, you will find several offers that I'll explain here at the end of the recording. I'm a psychologist. Had a traditional psychology practice for about 13 years and then made a big shift in my career to positive psychology. Positive psychology is a lot of fun. And if you'll think of it this way, think of your emotions, your mental health, your psychological life on a spectrum. And clear over here on the left end of the spectrum is the sick end. This is where we have diagnosis, pathology, treatment. My practice is focused on this other end. And to understand that, let's go to the middle first. The middle is health, meaning not sick. Now you'd think that health would be at the opposite end of the spectrum, but I'm just talking about not being sick. So you might be sick in bed with a fever, throwing up, and there comes a time when you can get out of bed and you're not sick. Well, that doesn't mean that you're truly fit, thriving, prospering. So that's what's over here at this end of the spectrum. And to get there, we have to follow principles. Now, principles are natural laws. They're always on, they always work. Whether you believe in them or not, whether you're aware of them or not, they are always in effect in your life. So gravity is a good example of a principle. You don't get up in the morning and think, I wonder if gravity's on today. It is. Gravity is always on and it's always working. So you jump from the top of a tall building, what's going to happen? Yeah, you're going to fall. For sure or maybe. Sometimes or every time. So this is how principles work. They're always on and they always work. Well, what if you're standing at the top of that tall building thinking, gravity, I don't believe in that stuff. Not really into gravity. And then you jump. Same splat as the believers. So you'll notice gravity doesn't care if you believe in it or not. It doesn't check in with you first before it pulls you to the earth. This is how principles work. So principles are always on and they always work whether you believe in them or not, whether you're aware of them or not. There they are. Now, as we get into some principles of psychology, I have time today to share with you one of the most fundamental principles of psychology. And I get a kick out of this because one of my jobs as a psychologist is to illuminate the obvious. So I get paid to tell people things they already know or to show them things that they already see. But a lot of these things are just under the surface. If you think of your mind as having these two parts, there's a conscious up on top and there's a subconscious down below. Well, the conscious is what you're aware of. In fact, consciousness means awareness. Subconscious, sub means below, like subway, submarine. Conscious means awareness. So your subconscious is everything that's below your awareness. It's right here under the surface. Now you can become aware of it fairly quickly. Like the feeling of your clothing. Did you notice? Well, you do now. And unless it was uncomfortable or bothering you, you didn't notice it before I said something. I brought it to your awareness, even though it's something you already knew or that was obvious to you. The fact that we're speaking English, obvious, but you didn't necessarily notice unless English is not your primary language. So this is what I mean by illuminating the obvious. And some of these psychological principles are right there under the surface, just waiting for you to become aware of them. And then as you become aware of them, like gravity, you can start to conduct yourself in a way that is more favorable or that leads to better outcomes. So, first principle of psychology. Let's get to that first. It is what it is. That phrase irritates some people, but all it means is that where you are, what you have, where you've been, who you are, what you can do, all of that is what it is. Now, to understand this, let's create a scenario. Let's say you go down to the school, you're just going down to take care of something for the kids. And As you're standing there at the front office, you notice a commotion going on behind you. And as you turn to see what's going on, a man in a ski mask just came in with a gun. Okay, now, consider how you might feel about this. And notice something. And this is a concept I call metacognition. Cognition psychologically just means thinking. We'll put that right here at this level. Metacognition is a step above that. It's thinking about thinking. Thinking about your own thinking. In this scenario, why would you feel nervous, upset, afraid when the guy comes in with a ski mask and a gun? Okay, notice that you feel what you feel because of your imagination. Now, we're not imagining the gunman. He's real. But what are we imagining? Right, we're imagining what he might do or how this could play out. That hasn't happened yet. So we're just imagining it at this point. So it's your imagination that's causing those feelings. Now, keep the metacognition turned on today. I will invite you to come back to that several times where you get to think about your own thinking. Now, metacognition is a really good deal, even though it'll drive you nuts sometimes. But metacognition creates a space, okay? And in that space exists choice. That is huge. So notice how that plays out as we go back to this scenario. Okay, unbeknownst to the gunman, the police officer assigned to the kid's school is standing right behind him in the hallway. Doesn't notice him. And this cop is thinking, I don't think so. Not on my shift. Not today. As he leaps, instinctively tackling this guy, driving him to the floor hard. In the process, you hear the explosion of a single shot from that gun. Boom! And then you feel a bullet hit you. It hit you. Sorry. Right in the foot. You see how this keeps changing? Okay, let's take a look at why. Now keep the metacognition turned on. Think about your thinking. And let's analyze this situation. It is what it is. And what is you get shot in the foot. This guy goes off to jail. You go off to the emergency room. Scenario over right there. It is what it is. You got shot in the foot. Now notice this. What is always right between better and worse. So let's look at it in terms of this diagram. Always between better and worse. You can see that what is sits right between the two of them. Now let's make sure that this is true before we move on. No matter how bad it is, it could always be worse. True? No matter how good it is, it could always be better. Now this is why it changed a little bit as I went through this scenario for you. You saw the big word that I wrote at the bottom of this, evaluation. Evaluation is a task that our mind does for us. We can't turn it off any more than we can turn off gravity. It's always there. So our mind is constantly evaluating what is. Is this good or bad? Is this lucky or unlucky? Is this fortunate or unfortunate? I don't know. I'll check. How is our mind going to check? Okay, metacognition. Keep that thinking about the thinking going on. In order to compare what is, or to evaluate what is, our mind has to compare it to something better or something worse. How can you know? A couple of years ago, I was doing a bug collection with my son for a 9th grade biology class, and we went out and we found this guy. Now, isn't that impressive? Apologies to the arachnophobics in the room here. Okay, I put up this picture on Facebook because I thought it was really cool. And I started getting some comments like, oh, Fuzzy, oh, how cute. Look at that little spider. Oh, look, he's got 7 legs, not 8. Which is true. You probably didn't notice that before, but I'm thinking these people don't get it. So I went and took another picture real quick, put it up on Facebook, and then I got a whole new set of comments. Wow, it's bigger than I thought. And some people, wow, it's smaller than I thought. Well, what did they compare it to before? See, the second picture gives you a standard of comparison. Now you can tell how big it is because you're comparing it to something you're already familiar with. If you don't have a solid object of comparison, your mind will compare it to your imagination. And usually it's your imagination of something worse or something better, one or the other. It's comparing it to something to come up with that judgment or that evaluation of what is. You follow this? Am I a tall man? You probably can't tell unless you know me. I'm 6'2". Okay, pretty tall, right? Show you another picture I took with my friend Mark. I'm the one on the right. Yeah, am I a tall man? Maybe not so much. I barely make his shoulder. Mark is 7'4". So am I tall? Well, it depends on who you compare me to. So just get it in your head that constantly your mind is evaluating. It has to, and you can't turn it off. How we make that evaluation is a choice. Now we see that because of metacognition, we can tell that this absolutely is a choice. Even though that's unnoticed sometimes, it's in the subconscious realm. So let's bring that up to our awareness and realize that we always have a choice as to how we compare. Now let's look at what happens when we imagine. Now, you get shot in the foot. Okay, that's our scenario. Can you imagine anything better than getting shot in the foot? That's not too hard, right? And this is why you felt nervous when I mentioned that there was a gunman coming into the school. Think about it. You can imagine days when no gunman comes into the school. Nobody gets shot, especially not me. Now you make that comparison. Okay, let's put it up here. You get shot in the foot. That is what it is. You can imagine not getting shot. That would be better, right? When you compare what you've got to something better than what you've got, how do you feel? You feel worse. So, and we're not making it up. It really does look bad to get shot in the foot compared to not getting shot. Any day I get shot is worse than days when I don't. So this is an honest comparison. It's something that happens naturally and normally, but notice that you're comparing it. Now, can you imagine anything worse than getting shot in the foot? You absolutely can. And this is why you felt a mild surge of relief when I said it was your foot. Because you can imagine getting shot between the eyes, can't you? Or in the chest or in some body part you like better than your foot. And that would be worse, right? Now we make that comparison. Well, and it's not even just that. What were you thinking when I said a gunman came into the school? Oh, man. You've seen the news stories. Does this happen ever? Yeah. Dozens of kids getting hurt or killed. Now, we don't even like to think about that, but we can. And then our mind makes that comparison. Now, compared to innocent kids getting killed, let's take a look. You get shot in the foot, comparing that to innocent children dying. Now, suddenly this looks pretty good, doesn't it? Compared to that. And we're not making that up either. It really does look good. And now, instead of feeling inadequate or upset or traumatized by this event, we're thinking, oh, how lucky, how fortunate we are. So glad it wasn't anything worse, right? Yeah. Okay. So here we are. It is what it is. What is always between better and worse. It could always be better. It could always be worse. And we have the ability to imagine something better and something worse. As we make our comparisons from what is, comparing it to something better, we feel worse. Comparing it to something worse, we feel better. Any questions? Now, notice that you do this. I'm not asking you to change it. But just notice that you do it. Notice that this is how your mind processes that information. And you can't turn it off any more than you can turn off gravity. It's a principle. So it always affects you. Whether you believe in it or not, aware of it or not, doesn't matter. And that's why we had to bring that to your awareness. That's first. Okay, so notice that your mind is always evaluating what is. And you'll do this also with your family, with your children, with your job, with your finances. How's your family going? How's your marriage? I had a couple right here on this couch just a little while ago on the verge of divorce, and I start to ask them, well, we talked about this evaluation process first, and then I asked them, so how's your marriage? A little bit of a trick question, because really I'm asking them to try this evaluation step. And it was so interesting because her response was, well, it could be better. Yeah, you think? Now, as long as she's thinking it could be better and she compares her own marriage to that, how does she feel about her marriage? Not so good, right? Now, it could be worse too, right? Even though they were on the verge of divorce, I know and they know that it could be a lot worse than it is. Now, when we put ourselves in a positive position with relation to what we already have, what that does is it creates a sense of gratitude. So think about it. When you compare your situation to something worse than what you already have, that puts you in a positive position relative to that. And you start to think, you know what? I am doing pretty well compared to that. I'm doing pretty well. What feelings does that generate? And the primary feeling, this is a key feeling, is gratitude. Gratitude. In fact, you know what? Gratitude is the fastest way to get to a positive evaluation of what is. In fact, if you want to try this, give yourself a little boost just over the next few days. Starting today, okay, this is something I call 25-5. 5 stands for 5 days. Starting today, you make a list, a physical written list of 25 things for which you are sincerely grateful. And don't make this up. You have to actually be grateful for it in order to put it on your list. And then don't repeat anything on tomorrow's list that was on today's list. So you've got a new list every single day. Okay? This is a powerful exercise that helps you to get into a positive evaluation of what is, and it generates those feelings of gratitude. Now let's move forward because we've got a little bit of ground to cover before we're done here today. Evaluation is not the only process that your mind is doing. In fact, you are quickly switching back and forth between evaluation and this next process, creation. Creation of what is to be. All right, so it is what it is. We've already established that. It could always be better. It could always be worse. And we're not going to stay right here. In fact, I don't think that's even an option. Some people think, well, maybe it'll be exactly the same as it is. No, it won't. At the very least, you're going to be older. Sorry. And life tends to march forward with or without you. So it's going to change. Now, if it can't be exactly the same, then it has to be either better or worse. And the only place that exists right now is in your imagination. Think about it. What is to be doesn't exist yet. We haven't created it yet, but we can imagine it, can't we? Now look what our imagination does to us in creation mode. Consider for a minute that I give you 2 options. Let's just say that we got a menu. Okay, here's your menu. Now, there's only 2 items on the menu today, folks, and you can pick one of these 2, but you have to pick one of them, okay? You can have something better or something worse than what you already have. Now, what would you like to have? Or do you need a few minutes to think about it? No, probably not, huh? It's obvious. You want something better than what you've already got. We're working on upgrades, yeah? Now, is it possible, though? What if I gave you an assignment? What if you were to just pause this recording? You can come back to it. Give you a half hour. I want you to go out into the community and find some way to make your life worse. Ready, go. Ridiculous, right? Ridiculous, but look how quickly your mind can imagine. Half a dozen ways to make your life worse. But here's the kicker. Our imagination of something worse is not for the purpose of creation. It's for the evaluation purpose, so that we can see that compared to that, we're doing pretty well. We're awesome. Yeah. That's why we can imagine something worse. Our imagination of something better, on the other hand, is for the express purpose of giving us direction for creation. Notice it's direction, not destination. And just because we can imagine all these better things does not mean that we're supposed to be there. In fact, we never are. We never are. Think about it. You're never there. You're always here, aren't you? You're always where you are. You're never better. Now, can you improve? Sure you can. And what if we make some improvements and move this way? Now, where are we? Still here. We're never there. It's like saying it's never tomorrow. It's always today. Always today. You check the calendar. What day is it? It's today. Yeah, always. It's never tomorrow. And you're never going to be better. You can be better than you are now, but then you'll be there. Okay, so just wrap your head around this. Use the metacognition to see that we do this all the time. Our imagination of something better is not to beat ourselves up for where we are. It's to give us direction for that creative energy that we have, because we're going to go create something. And we are capable of creating messes and masterpieces. We can do both. And instead of doing it accidentally, I'm thinking, let's live on purpose. Let's get really clear about our intention and which direction we're going to go. Now look what happens in creation mode. What if we were to imagine that what's coming is worse than what we've already got? How would that feel? Pretty obvious. This is anxiety. From a clinical standpoint, that's what it is. It's anxiety. It's imagining that what's coming is worse. Oh. And then we get all fearful about that. We don't know what's coming. So what if we were to choose? What happens when we imagine that what's coming is better than what we already have? Oh man. See, that creates the positive feelings. We get to choose which way we look. And one way or the other, we're going to create some feelings about what we imagine is coming. So when we talk about goals and positive imaging, it's all about getting really clear about the upgrade. Picturing it very, very clearly. Now, let's talk for just a minute about how we set ourselves up, because whatever we do in evaluation mode affects and actually causes and creates what we do in creation mode. So, in a negative evaluation mode, we're down here, okay? When we see or interpret or judge ourselves to be doing poorly, how do we feel? We feel depressed. That's the short version. Depressed. And then we're more likely to anticipate negative things coming in the future. Think about it. When you are depressed, feeling inadequate, not good enough, defeated, deflated, how likely are you to go do something productive? Not so much. You are more likely to go make a mess when you're feeling inadequate. Do you see how these play off of each other? This is a negative cascade. Depression, anxiety. Practiced psychology for 20 years. That's the summary. This is depression. This is anxiety. And the thing about that, you've heard that happiness is a choice. I know you've heard that. Whether that makes sense to you or not, hopefully it makes more sense to you after this conversation today, because we have a choice. We have a choice. Now, we can look at things in that negative cascade, or we can get it turned over to positivity, where we actually put ourselves into a positive energy by generating gratitude. Do the 25-5 thing. Seriously, that makes a huge difference. And then as you start to feel grateful for what is. Now, here's a little upgrade to that. If you are struggling currently with how you feel about what is, and that what is has to do with your marriage, or your finances, or your job, or yourself, or your weight, or whatever, make sure that your 25-5 gets powered up by making half of those things every day, at least half, about that area that challenges you. Let's say it's your finances. If you are watching this webinar today, you are in the top 10% of the world's wealthy. Yeah. You think of the millions, maybe billions of people who are worse off than you. You're doing so well. You are so richly blessed. Connect with that and feel it, because we're not done yet. And some people are afraid to do that. They think, well, if I say that this is okay, then it'll never get any better. Yeah, bull. It's going to change. And putting yourself in a positive mindset now creates the energy that makes this more possible, so that you can actually go create that upgrade and have something that is even greater than what you've already got, which is already good. Do you see how this just gets better and better? This is how happiness is quite literally a choice. And I wanted you to understand today how and why, from a psychological perspective, why happiness is a choice, so that you can make that choice on purpose. And that means that life gets to be good now, and there's an upgrade coming, which is totally awesome. This is our positivity vector right here. Whoops, excuse me. Right there. That is where we get to live in happiness, even without the upgrades. And this is good news, because some things we control and other things we don't. But we can choose to be in a better position right now by choice. And we do it by understanding how our mind does those two tasks, evaluation and creation. Okay, you can tell I get excited about this. I would love to share with you some other resources that you can connect to. Now, I already gave you the website. Let me see if I can find that particular page again. It's down at the bottom of my stack. Here we go. Okay. So, folks, go to drpauljenkins.com/Amy Walker. Here's what you're going to find. On the sidebar, on the right-hand sidebar, right over there on the side, is a place for you to enter your name and email address. Please put that in there and register to receive a free download. It's an audio recording of the 4 truths for those who love their lives. Enjoy that with my compliments. Now, there are a few other things available there on the website. I am offering a package. I do personal coaching and consultation. That's not for everyone, but if this resonates with you and you feel that that's something that would benefit you, I would love to be on your team. I'm already on your team because you're watching this video today. But if you would like to do some personal consultation and coaching along the lines of the things that we've talked about here today, would love to do that with you. I'm offering a 3-session, and that's 50-minute sessions, 3-session coaching package. And I normally charge $120 an hour. This 3-session package has a value of $360. I am throwing in with that also a copy of my book, Pathological Positivity, which you can also order separately if you'd like through pathologicalpositivity.com, or just go through the products page on my website. If you order the coaching package from me, I will autograph and personalize this book just for you. We'll ship that out to you, or you can pick it up here at my office, whichever works for you. Oh, and by the way, the coaching sessions can be done by phone or Skype as well. I will also throw in a copy of my CD, Live on Purpose, Creating and Living a Life That You Love. And I hope that you enjoy that as well. This is a $15 value, a $20 value. With the $360 coaching package, I'm offering that whole thing to you for $320. There's a button where you can purchase right there online. If that speaks to you, I would love to provide those resources to you. Also, peruse around the website. I have a podcast, a YouTube channel. There's a blog. Enjoy the information. Share it with others. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and live on purpose.